They called me coach because I spent actually 13 years of my life as a championship women's basketball coach. We taught every player the 7 habits of highly effective people. We taught every player the principles of good to great. We taught every player the 5 dysfunctions of teams, the 5 disciplines of a learning organization, the power of intention. And by the time 3 years into this, guess what I was building in those kids? Little stone cold killing machines, folks. Right now, there's over 800,000 people in the United States that call themselves a coach. The average income of those 800,000 people is roughly $47,000 a year. You probably don't want to be getting business coaching from somebody making 47 grand a year. Fair enough? But they call me coach because I spent actually 13 years of my life as a championship women's basketball coach at a place called Riverdale High School. Anybody familiar with Riverdale up in Tennessee? Right in the middle of Tennessee in Murfreesboro. I got there when I was 19 years old. And while I was in college at Middle Tennessee State University, I would go to college in the morning at 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then I would leave at 11 o'clock and go straight to my job coaching basketball players. And I was there at 19, 20, 21, and I was lucky enough, and luck plays a lot of factor in your success, I was lucky enough to become the head coach at 22, making me the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee at the 2nd largest high school. Now, when I got there, Riverdale was a football school. It had won 4 state championships in football. It had been in 9 state championship games. And as a 22-year-old kid, I started going, we're going to win a championship in women's basketball at this school. And people laughed at me, and they made fun of me. And they said, you'll never win a championship at this school. And moms and dads would bring their kids to me at 14 years old, and they all said the same thing. Coach, my daughter has a lot of what? What do you think they said? Potential. Sometimes they said drama. Sometimes they said issues. Sometimes they said attitude. But many times they would say my daughter has a lot of potential. Potential is an idea of kinetic energy that is stored until activated. It is an idea of embryonic growth, that I'll be better today than I was yesterday, that I'll be better tomorrow than I was today, that I will never stop getting better unless I choose to stop getting better. And then they would say, my daughter has a lot of potential, but she just needs something. And this is going to get into what we're going to talk about tonight. What do you think they said she needed? Motivation, which means to move. Discipline, which is a derivative of the word disciple, which means to give yourself to a person or cause you believe in. They would say she needs inspiration, which means to breathe life into. They would say she needs confidence, which is the memory of success. Although the top 1% of performers in the world don't have confidence, they have boldness. They would say she needs all of these things: accountability, structure, focus, discipline. And I would say, thank you for bringing your daughter to the Greatness Factory, where we are going to manufacture her greatness. And I would spend 5.5 hours a day with those players for 4 years. We taught every player the 7 habits of highly effective people. We taught every player the principles of good to great. We taught every player the 5 dysfunctions of teams, the 5 disciplines of a learning organization, the power of intention. Imagine your 14-year-old kid playing for me, and I'm teaching her all of these things, and I'm growing all 4 parts of her nature. I'm growing the body, that's physical. That's skill. I'm growing the mind, that's mental. That's knowledge. I'm growing the heart, that's passion. And I'm growing the spirit, that's confidence. Every person in this room is made up of those 4 parts. The body's need is to live, the mind's need is to learn, the heart's need is to love and be loved, and the spirit's need is to connect to a higher power, leave a legacy, to matter, to contribute. And I was coaching those kids every day for 5.5 hours a day. And by the time 3 years into this, guess what I was building in those kids? Little stone cold killing machines, folks. And the more games we won, the more people wanted to know, what are you doing with those kids? Like the mentors here tonight, like my good friend Matt Hollander, these people have a demonstrated capacity. They've done something. They've achieved something. They've mastered something. And so people are constantly asking me, what are you doing with these kids? And I'm like, man, I ain't got time to explain it. I'm working 80 hours a week. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm working 7 days a week. I remember getting up and going to church on Sunday morning and going straight to my office and working for 8 to 10 hours on a Sunday for 13 years. 80-hour work weeks. for one thing, to win that big championship ring, to build winners. So at 25 years old, people were asking me, what are you doing with these kids? And I said, man, I ain't got time to explain it because I'm working 80 hours a week. So I sat down and wrote a book called Changing Lives Through Coaching. That was 23 books ago. And when I wrote that book, I had no idea how to sell it. I had no idea how to market it. Remember, I'm a basketball coach. I'm working 80 hours a week. Listen to this. I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm making maybe $24,000 a year. I'm winning games. And the principal came to me and said, man, we don't ever want you to leave. You stay as long as you want. He said, but we don't have any more money to give you. He said, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to let you take the driver's ed car home as a courtesy car. Nice. I'm like, what? He said, we're going to let you take the driver's ed car home as a courtesy car. He said, don't tell the other teachers. And so literally the kids would drive the car during the day. They would drive the car over to my office at the end of the day. They would take the driver's ed sticker off of it. And I would take this green 1994 Bonneville home. And I'm driving. I'm like, I'm somebody, man. I got a courtesy car. And then people would get in my car and they would say, bro, what's up with the brake in the passenger side? I said, man, don't worry about it. It's just how they make these Bonnevilles. So I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm making $24,000 a year. I'm studying under Dr. Stephen Covey. That's who I studied under for 8 years. And I'm studying business, and I'm taking over to athletics. I'm studying business, and I'm studying Malcolm Baldrige winners. These are the best businesses in the world. These are how the best businesses in the world run. And I'm breaking those businesses down. So I'm over in the business world. I'm getting a doctorate in leadership and management. And I'm coming over here to the athletic world. And I'm teaching these kids business principles. And I write this book. And when I wrote the book, somebody said, hey, we want you to come speak. And it was Dell Computers. And Dell Computers is one of the biggest companies in the world. And so I go over and speak for 1 hour at Dell Computers. And I get finished and they go, man, this was good. We want you to come back and coach our people. And I go, I ain't got time to coach adults. I have no intention of coaching adults. I am coaching kids. I love coaching kids. I do not want to coach adults, which are just big kids, by the way. And the guy said, no, it was really good. Can we pay you to come back and coach our people? And I go, no, I'm not interested. And we kind of got in a little bit of argument because I was a lot to handle at 25 years old. And he finally said, fine. And he reached in his pocket and he opened up an envelope and he handed me a check. And in that check, I made more in 1 hour than I was making in 320 hours. Did everybody just hear that? I just made more money in 1 hour than I did in 320 hours. What do you think I said then? I said, man, I love them kids. But surely somebody else will come along and love them kids as much as I do. The truth is, I stayed 6 more years. At that time, I wrote 4 more books because I made a promise to my boss that I would not leave that school until I brought him the one thing nobody had ever brought him, which was a championship. I owed that to him because he took a chance on me at 22 years old. He didn't have to take on me, guys. So at 31 years old, I retired from athletics. Riverdale would go on to win 7 of the next 9 state championships in girls basketball in the state of Tennessee. Thank you. Now, for all the leaders in here, Jim Collins, if you ever read Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about the difference between a level 4 leader and a level 5 leader. And a level 4 leader is somebody who builds something primarily built on them, and when they leave, everything goes down the drain. But he said a level 5 leader is somebody that builds something that can go on further than them. So them winning 7 more championships after I left is one of my greatest accomplishments. It's one of my most proud moments. No matter how many books I write or how many places I go around the world, inner engineering those kids was one of the proudest things I ever did. And that's why you need a coach in your life. So here's what I figured out. I go home at 25 years old, and this is what I would ask every person that's a mentee tonight. And I ask a simple question. What skill do I have? And why would they pay me that much money for 1 hour? See, if I went around the room tonight, and I'm going to ask the people that I'm mentoring over here, so you guys get ready to be grilled over here, I'm going to ask you a simple question. What skill do you have? And you can't say, I'm a good person. You can't say, I work hard. You can't say, I got a great attitude. What is your primary skill? And what problem do you want to solve on planet Earth? And who would compensate you the most money to solve that problem? What skill do you have? So I went home that night and I Googled coaches that speak. And guess what came up? Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz was the head coach at Notre Dame. He was writing books. He was coaching Notre Dame. And guess what it said? When I looked down in the corner, it said, speaking fee, $100,000 for 1 hour. And I go, I can do this. Now, here's what most people do. I called the great sales trainer one day, Jeremy Minor. If you ever follow Jeremy Minor, he got a degree in psychology. And I picked up the phone and I called Jeremy Minor and I said, why don't people do things why don't people move toward big dreams? Why don't they go do what they're capable of doing? Here's what he said to me. He said, Coach, 80% of people don't believe they can do it. They actually have inferiority complex. He said 20% of people believe they can do it without the help of another person. This is the power of a coach in your life. Hey, this is Coach Micheal Burt. I'm here at the Greatness Factory today, the Level 10 podcast studio. And as you can see behind, I got new imaging. I got a new concept. The big table is a metaphor for the biggest opportunities that are available to you that you're trying to work toward in your life. We're going to go to work on activating 3 parts of your nature. You first, that's science of winning. That's habits of the top 1%. That's the language that we use every single day. That's the activation of prey drive. That's the A to B exercise that we do. And then we're going to go to work on your business. And the business is got these 6 core components, right? The activation of your team's prey drive, the explanation of value, the lead generation system, the follow-up and conversion, the engagement after the sale. We then move to activating your wealth. 8-figure people stuck in 6-figure vehicles. How do we expose you to some of the best thought leaders in the world as it relates to what's going on in the market, how to make investments, how to raise capital, and put all this together, folks, and we are getting a seat at a much bigger table. I'm Coach Micheal Burt. I can't wait for you to see this podcast. It's called The Big Table. We're going to help you secure your seat there. Follow along, engage with me, hit that subscribe button. 80% of people don't believe they can do it. See, at that night when I saw that about Lou Holtz, here was what most people would say. Well, I'm not Lou Holtz. Well, I'm not at Notre Dame. Well, I'm not coaching football at that level. I'm just at a high school, but I didn't think like that. Here's what I thought. If he can do it, I can do it. If he can go do these things, I can go do these things. So I kept writing and I kept working and then I started to go out and build a business. And then I started asking this question, what skill do I have? What skill do I have? What skill do I have? What if you could sum up your skill in one word? I want you to think about this. How many of you think the most skilled people typically make the most money? And if you don't have a talent problem, you have a marketing problem. See, some of you are very talented, but you hadn't figured out how to package your talent, how to market that talent, how to monetize that talent. You're like a secret agent. So you're highly talented, yet you're undercapitalized. And I wrote a book on this called 8-Figure Skills Stuck in 6-Figure Vehicles. It's for all the people out there who know they should be making more money. They know they should be doing bigger things. They know they should be playing at a higher level. But something's missing in this equation. Either they haven't found their skill, they don't know how to package the skill, they don't know how to market the skill, or they don't know how to monetize the skill. See, I'm sitting with some real estate agents up here. I have coached the #1 male real estate agent in the United States. I've coached the #1 female real estate agent in the United States. I was sitting in Tampa yesterday with a gentleman who just sold a financial services firm for $122 million, who's trying to figure out what his next move is. And he wants to package his intellectual property. He's found his X factor. Now we're packaging it. Now we're marketing. Now we'll monetize it at a higher level. And here's the best part. He wants to go do it again. So the formula I want you to think about tonight as we go through this coaching and this mentorship is #1, what skill do you have that you could sum up in one word? My skill is activation. When I first figured that out, I'm like, man, it doesn't seem that sexy. Like activation. Like that's my word. And then I started thinking, what did I do at that school for 13 years? I activated an entire program. Then I started thinking about all the banks I had coached when I activated their sales. Then I started thinking about raising $30 million over the last year for 3 different funds, and I activated capital. Then the other night, I went to Wilmington, North Carolina, and I said, what do you guys want me to do? They said, we want you to activate an entire ecosystem. And I started going, man, this skill is sexy. What if you could use one skill and make money with that skill in 10 different ways? But you can if you don't know the skill. Money changes hands when problems are solved. The bigger the problem, the more money people pay to solve the problem. If you have an average skill, you make average money. So I want you to start thinking of yourself tonight as a specialist versus a generalist. I am really paying you for your past. Your past helps me to build my future. And you have to package all of that past. You see, when I was 25 years old, I lost all of my confidence. I thought I was going to get married. I didn't get married. I bought an engagement ring. I had to take an engagement ring back. And it was a very lonely day to take an engagement ring back. It's one of the loneliest days of my life. And I took that engagement ring back to a person that I was in love with, that I thought I was going to get married to. And the woman at the counter at the jewelry store said, Mr. Burt, why are you bringing this engagement ring back? Is it a broken engagement? And I go, I will punch you in the face right now. And I went through 6 months of clinical depression while I was a head coach. The only thing that got me through that depression was work. I worked 18 hours a day. I slept at my office. Work gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a sense of meaning. I want you to think of work as a distribution channel for your talent. And when I worked my way through that, I studied confidence. And guess what confidence is? Confidence is the memory of success. It is an internal knowing that you can create or manifest what you see in your mind. And through that terrible period in my life, I became an expert at confidence. I became an expert at building confidence in people, protecting confidence in people, instilling confidence in people. All because I had that breakdown at 25 years old. The breakdown created the breakthrough. Everybody with me? I packaged it into a book. I went around the world and spoke on it. Companies brought me in to build confidence in their people. So I am paying you for your past. Your past helps me to build my future. I have a young lady on my team that was a former Navy intel analyst, and when she got out of the military, she couldn't get a job. And I want you to mark it down within the next year. That young lady right there will be a millionaire, if not a multimillionaire. Through the power of proximity, which is a book that she's got out, that I helped her write through knowing the right people, by getting a seat at a bigger table. She had the skill. She needed to find the right vehicle. She needed to find the right person. What if I told you you're one person away from a new season in your life? Sitting at a table with somebody tonight could change your life. If you're humble, hungry, teachable, if you're alert, if you're curious, you're responsible. This could be game-changing for you if you open it up that way. Hayden took a chance, and he didn't know if he could sell tickets to this, and look at what he did tonight. So let's give him a hand wherever he's at. Thank you. I still don't know how he got me here for free, but great job on that. That's a favorite of Matt Hollander too. Yeah, somebody said $100,000. That's right. So here's the formula, and then we're going to finish tonight. Number one, if I was coaching you, here's where I would coach you on. And by the way, I wrote 17 books before I had a Wall Street Journal bestseller. 17. And they've been endorsed by everybody. Ed Mylett, Grant Cardone, Tim Grover, Tim Story, Sharon Lechter, you name the best people in the world, and they've endorsed my books. I've spoken on stages with all of those people. But I could not figure out how to write a bestseller. And on book number 18 called Flip the Switch, I made a simple decision. The word decide means to kill something off. The word decision means to cut something away. I made a simple decision on book number 18. This is going to hit the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. I picked up the phone. I called Ed Mylett. Ed Mylett had just launched a book. He sold 107,000 copies of that book. And I called Mylett and I said, who launched your book? And he said, Rory Vaden. I pick up the phone. I call Rory Vaden. I said, I would like to work with you. They said, well, he's busy. And I said, you tell him Coach Burt wants to work with him. They found a space for me. They said, it's going to be $18,000 for 3 hours. Now, many of you in the room would hear that and think what? Gosh, that's a lot of money. It's not a lot of money to gain a skill. It's not a lot of money to have a skill in perpetuity. It's not a lot of money for something that I haven't figured out how to do in 17 books. I was paying to learn a knowledge and a skill that I didn't have. I hire Rory Vaden. We sit in a conference room for 3 hours. He shows me exactly how to do it. Flip the switch, becomes a Wall Street Journal bestseller. Why? Because I was humble enough to go get a coach. Here's what I tell people today. If you could do what you wanted to do, you'd have already done it. So what I'm looking for when I'm looking for people is, are you hungry? Are you humble? Are you teachable? Are you alert? Are you curious? Are you responsive? Do you know your primary skill? Do you know the problem that you want to solve in the world? And do you know the vehicle that you want to distribute your talents to? You see, over the last year, we built a private equity fund. We've raised $15, $16 million to invest in data centers. I'm building greatness factories all over the United States, which are cool buildings where entrepreneurs go to. Chattanooga will have one within the next 2 years. You can mark it down that I said it here tonight. I had these skills inside of me. They were there the whole time. I just didn't activate those skills. You have skills that are not activated. You have skills that are latent and undeveloped. But it takes the coach, it takes a person to go inside of you and pull those skills out of you. It takes a mentor to see something in you that you don't see in you to say, you got this. Now, I'm going to close tonight with a story about creative packaging. Is that okay? You guys having fun tonight, by the way? Okay? And if you're not, you can get some whiskey when we're done and have fun. I was sitting in Miami, Florida at Grant Cardone's office in 2017. And they had just had 10X, which is this big conference. And I looked across the table at him and his desk, and we got pictures showing this actually happened. And I said, do you think I'm good enough to speak at 10X? And he goes, oh yeah, 100%. You're 100% talented enough to speak at this conference. I say, well, then why haven't you asked me to speak? Here's what he said. You're not famous enough. He said, I just spent $4 million to rent Mandalay Bay, and I need to sell tickets to recoup my investment. And you're talented, but you're not known. I need famous people. I need to sell tickets. And I said, okay, let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. You need to sell tickets, right? That's what I'm hearing you say? And he goes, yeah, that's what I need to do. And I said, tell you what I'll do. As a friend, I'll buy $100,000 worth of tickets right now while we're sitting here across from each other. Will that help me speak on stage? And he goes, yeah, I think that'll help. I go, great. I'll take $100,000 worth of tickets right now. I'll buy 50 tickets, VIP at $2,000 a ticket. And I buy these tickets and I give him $100,000. And I go, what am I going to do with these tickets? What am I going to do with these tickets? How am I going to sell these tickets? Then I go, okay, I'm going to creatively package this. I package those tickets up. And I said, I'm going to take 50 people with me to watch me speak at Mandalay Bay. It's going to be 10,000 people. It's going to be a life-changing moment for me. I want to take my 50 best customers. Plus, you get a year of my coaching program. Plus, I'm going to do a VIP event with me and Ed Milet and Tim Grover at Mandalay Bay. And you can buy these tickets for $5,000. We sold 50 tickets within 3 months. I made $150,000 off the thing, okay? Then I went and spoke at 10X and made $2 million more. Is that a good investment? Yes or no? Now, I tell you all of this because there's two things I want you to take away from that story. Number one, that was a moment. And if you ever watch Tin Cup, you either seize the moment or the moment seizes you. And that was a moment where I bet on me. That's a moment I said, I'm in. I'm 100% in. And I'll figure out how to do the rest. And I move forward with psychological flexibility. But guess who I met when I spoke there? It's where I met Milet. It's where I met my buddy Tim Grover, who I was with last week. It's where I met Bradley, who I became good friends with. It's where I met all of these people that I'm in partnership with. I'm now speaking on their stages. I'm now doing events with them. And that is a multiplying moment in life. So for you, you're going to get some advice tonight from some of the best people in the world. Question is, will you be humble? Will you be hungry? Will you be teachable? Or will you say, no, that won't work for me? If a high school basketball coach can go from making 24 grand a year working 320 hours a month to where we are today, then I'm telling you, if you'll just be coachable and find the right people to coach you and mentor you, you can take it as far as you want to take it.